Lights up bright, dope, Campbell Stadium is alive. Seminoles rise and fight to survive. Helmet gleam under that blazing sun. Florida State where champions run. Seminole sideline 365. Feel the roar, we're coming alive. Garnet and gold in the battle we thrive. This is our house where legends arrive. Turf torn up under Seminole feet. The war chant pounds to the heart's own beat. Chop through the noise like a storm in the sky. 2025, we reach for the high. Seminole sideline 365.
Welcome back to Seminole Sideline 365. This is KB. With me is the old man. He's back. And this is our post-game reaction to the stunning upset by Stanford 20-13 against Florida State last night in Palo Alto. So this is just our reaction to it. I don't want to get too deep in numbers, but sometimes you probably will. I've said it all along. I've said it leading into the game. We kind of know what this team is. We know this is a team that makes mistakes. This is a team that continues to hurt themselves, that plays undisciplined. But I thought they still were fighting, despite those mistakes that kept beating them, leading to 3 straight losses. But last night, I do think they quit. Members of the team did quit. And that hurts the other side. The other members of the team, I believe, are still fighting. Mike absolutely has lost the locker room, or percentages of this locker room. And that's all it takes. It's very hard for a coach to lose the entire locker room. That's only when you really have a toxic coach, too. I don't believe Mike Norvell is a toxic coach, but he's absolutely lost members of this team. You saw it in Edwin Joseph. You hear the results today of, saw their interaction on the sideline, basically not even acknowledging Mike. Mike continues to still play the guy on the field. And when Joseph had multiple mistakes, you had multiple players on the team make key mistakes on 3rd, 4th down, giving them the ball back, extending drives for them. This team played with no discipline last night. And that's what ultimately beat them. What also beat them was a lack of execution on offense. Once again, the inability to shift your play calling a bit, continuing to run into the teeth of the defense of Stanford. You just didn't play great. On the flip side, you'll say, well, we had 445 yards of offense, but you couldn't punch it in. Those yards mean nothing if you can't punch it in for points. And the drive history is pathetic to look at. When you see the drives, first drive, 3 for 3, 3 and out, punt. 9 yards for 37 yards, field goal miss. 12 for 54 yards, 12 plays, 54 yards, field goal. Then the next 3 plays, 6 yards, punt. 3 for 0 yards, punt. The next two, you get a 13-play, 97-yard drive, touchdown. Amazing. Only good drive of the night. Next 2, 9 plays, 58 yards. That's a punt. 3 plays, -4 yards. That's a punt. Your offense could not get going throughout the night. And this is something I said in the pregame I thought against last week. This offense sputtered, especially when Deuce Robbins was out, but it stuttered with him on the field this time. And I thought that the play calling with the run was very uninspiring because you ran it into the strength of their defense, and you kept trying to do that instead of trying to test them deep. And I think Tommy missed some balls, and we know he's going to miss balls because he's not a pure passer. But you have to test them deep, and you also have to get the ball in the damn end zone. But we went too many 3 and out. This defense, I thought, like I said, they couldn't give up more than 20 points. They didn't give up more than 20 points, and I'm not going to blame them for this. I knew that they would get scored on because this is not a great defense. Your defense only got 2 sacks all night against a banged-up defensive line for Stanford. You only got 2 sacks, I believe, all night. But you kept them. You kept this game close, which the defense, that's their job, and the offense couldn't execute. But it's done. This team is done. The coaching staff is done. You've lost players. Just the mental mistakes alone just showed me that the locker room has been lost. And players are playing for themselves. They're trying to do it all. They're not locked in to the play calling. They're not locked into what their coach is telling them. And you just, like I said, you've seen the interactions of it. There's toxicity on this team, and it's coming from your starters. It's coming from your starters. When Tommy got knocked down that cheap shot, how many guys did you see defend him and get in the face of the other guy? I saw a couple. I saw two, maybe. But I would have liked to see the whole team go and confront the guy, regardless of the penalty that comes from it. Tommy got cheap shotted, giving his body for this team multiple times. And the guy gets a free shot, tries to knock his head off, and two players are the only people that go and defend him. That's when I really knew that you had lost it. You've lost passion on this team. You've lost fight for each other on this team. And it's really, really sad. And that tells me if Alford doesn't man up and make the decision, make the phone calls, find the money, get rid of this guy, then it's all over. I mean, it's already all over, but the foundation is broken. There's no coming back. Mike can say all the bullshit. Oh, I see it. We're gonna fight. We still have. You don't still have it, Mike. You've lost it. You've lost it. You've had your chances. You've lost it, man. This is rock bottom. This is rock bottom. The culture is over. There's no more climbing. You can't climb from this. You can't climb out of this hole, Mike. It's over for you. It's over for the staff. And I'm sad to say that. The climb is over. You cannot climb from this, Mike. So
yeah, that's a pretty good summary of this game. It was a tough game for fans because of the time it started. It was super. I don't think I've ever listened to or watched a Florida State game that started this late on the East Coast. Now 7:30 on the West Coast, but man, it's rough. Now, I'm not going to offer any excuses for the time change for the players or this or that. Or here's the bottom line. The bottom line is who's going to write the checks? What will be the negotiated settlement if there's a negotiated settlement? And when will that occur? I have to imagine that the Florida State benefactor, the people with the big money that are going to write the checks, are already scheduling a meeting or already had meetings about this, KB, and probably have met with Alford, maybe the president of the university, to discuss this matter. There's probably going to be a meeting with Norvell's agent, Sexton, who's sharp. He does his job. They don't have to negotiate anything. But maybe Mike says, listen, this hasn't worked out the way we should. Maybe I'll take less. Maybe he'll take 40. Maybe he'll take 45. I don't know. But the bottom line is, I said this last week. I think you agreed. It's over. Okay? And it's just a matter of when will the checks be written? When does he pack up his office? When is the best time in his contract and for the football program, being portals, getting a new coach in, recruiting, get a whole new staff together? The bottom line is this program now has to be rebuilt once again. And there are other programs out there that are competing, and these agents love it, competing for good, solid, reputable head coaches. So it's a buyer's market, so to speak, I guess, in head coaches, so it's a rebuild. We're in rebuild now. And my other question, which we can talk about a little bit, because I don't think that, like you said, the stats don't matter. I think Tommy Castellanos has played his ass off this season, and he's not getting the support from other players on this team, and he deserves a lot of credit. It's not the quarterback, in this case. The defense played well enough to win this game, and it's against Stanford. Well, Mike could say, well, it's just another close loss. No, it isn't, Mike. It is a loss to a terrible Stanford team. And I believe the spread was like 18 points or more going into this. Going into this game. This is embarrassing. you are already going to leave this program. You are not going to be the long-term leader of this program. And this was just another sign of that. The offense has been scoring, 30 some points a game, 28 to 30 points, and we can't muster more than 13 points in this game.
2.9 yards per rush.
Yeah, against a terrible Stanford team. It's embarrassing.
I pointed it out on the preview show, though, which you weren't here for, was their rushing defense has been superb. And I said this will be a test to see, is Florida State trying to test their will of, we can run it better than you, we're gonna establish our will. But no, they didn't. They kept running into the teeth of the defense, right up the middle, they didn't get more creative than that. They just kept doing it like an insane
Which makes no sense.
And getting less than 3 yards and setting themselves up for 3rd and long, forcing them to pass it. And then, and two, Tommy did play with heart, but he missed some balls. And that's what this is this risk you take when you either don't nurture a quarterback you don't land elite quarterbacks in recruiting and high school.
Yeah, he was like 50%.
But he missed a lot of deep. There was open balls available, and he hit one or two, but he missed a couple. Danzy was, if we look at the bigger cam, I'm sure Danzy was open a lot more because he was open every time.
Defenses know this, KB. Defenses know this, that he doesn't have the accuracy. He's not a true passer, as you said. And they're not too worried about the deep ball. They may give up some deep balls, but not on a regular basis because of his accuracy issues. And I think he's had some injuries. I don't think he's running as well or as agile as he should be. And so that leads me to a question. That leads me to this question, given everything you and I have said so far. Do we now start shaking up the lineups to now you've got to think, what are the guys I need to see? What are the guys I really need to see? The young guys that are going to return to this team and start playing them. There's nothing else to win this year except player development.
Bowl money too. Getting to a bowl does give you more money. So you need to be playing for 6. You need to be playing to get to a bowl.
So you think it is too early for introduce? I'm not saying make a wholesale lineup changes, but getting certain guys that should be on the edge to play, right?
Yeah, if you think, and I was thinking this throughout the game, I was like, if we think Sperry or Brock or somebody gives us a better chance to hit our receivers downfield, I think we have to start thinking about that change because we have receiving weapons who can stretch the field, and I think Tommy's not always seen that, or sometimes he may be not able. He's looking short, or he's looking to run at time. And I know but I think if we feel like Sperry gives us a better chance to, and Sperry has legs, not Tommy legs, but he has athletic.
He has legs,
and Tommy's ability has been taken away a little bit because of the injury. But if we're saying, well, Tommy's banged up, and we need someone who can stretch the field with their arm, and they feel Kevin has the ability as a young freshman to stretch the field with his arm, and is not, has more of ability potential than Tommy, I would go with that route, or I would start testing it out, because I think that is the only way we're going to be able to start winning more games, is if people start respecting the deep game consistently, or start respecting the deep ball consistently. And I think another reason why you brought it up consistently is, why don't we ever throw in the middle of the field? Well, it's because Tommy can't see over the line. Like he can't see over the line. And I'm not saying Kevin Sperry's not a big dude, but he's listed at 6'1". So, but that is a big thing that we're missing. Tommy isn't able to complete those throws over the middle of the field, which you never see because of that. It's a disadvantage, I believe. So I think, and this is not taking away from Tommy, he's given it his all. And once again, he's not one of the players I'm saying has quit, because he left his body out there last night. With the goal line jumping over, and and he came up short a couple times on the 4th down too. But it's not on him. It's just, I think we've seen his ceiling of abilities. And if we think if the coaches believe that if Gus believes that Kevin can make those throws, I think we got to start testing that a little bit. Because like you said, Kevin could be the future quarterback of the team. He's number 2. He's over Brock. So they see enough of him to make him number 2 as a true freshman.
I think it's the perfect time, KB. I think you have to target certain guys on this team now who are going to be available to you unless they jump into the portal. And that's not a leverage against you, but it's like, okay, We have nothing else to play for in terms of value except player development. It's very important now. This is an opportunity with Wake Forest coming in. Okay, that's at home, right? Wake Forest. Okay. Yeah,
I'll
okay.
check. I'll confirm. I don't.
With Wake Forest, it's a perfect opportunity, and maybe Tommy is out, or could be out, or is going to be injured and out, to start a Kevin Sperry against Wake Forest. If you lose, what does it matter? Okay, because now you're going to be changing. I'm not going to say you're changing coaching staff. I don't know who's going to write the checks or when they're going to get written, but you're going to change at some point. So if you think Kevin Sperry has it, then Gus should say, we need to start this kid and see what he's got. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think any good program would say we're going to get some of these younger guys to evaluate them, and they're going to get more reps. They're going to get more opportunities in these coming games, period. And because otherwise you don't know if you can retain a Kevin Sperry. Maybe he'll say, I don't want to go through a rebuild. I don't want to go through this shit, and go to a program where he can play, or you potentially compete on a better team. We don't know that. And there's a lot of younger guys here that are right on that edge, because now they couldn't get in games if we were heading to the ACC championship, but that's not happening. That's not going to happen. But the only goal left is, can you win 6 games to get to a bowl game, to get the extra 2 or 3 weeks of practice? All right. So that's what you're playing for now. Can we get to a bowl game? Can we go out there and play some more football? It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Yeah. And I'm wondering how much Michael Alford will step into this, and the general manager of this football team, and they talk to Norvell and say, this is the direction we want you to take this football team. This is what we want you to do. In real life, that happens at the NFL level with owners. They will dictate something.
If this was real life, if he was the CEO of a company, Mike Norvell would have been fired last night. If this is a performance, and if this was a quarterly snapshot,
it's about money,
he would be out. Yeah, he would be
out.
Out.
It's purely about the money issue, and it's much more than $58.5 million that is on the table for him alone. This is about more millions than you can even think of, because you got to go hire a new coach. You got to pay off the other coaches. You got to bring in new coaches. This is a mess.
But I think the mess. Alford should be thinking about short-term costs and long-term costs, because you are gonna have to pay in the short term, and I think that payment will come. But the long term is, if you keep him and these results continue, you're going to lose out on fans coming to the games. You're going to lose out on NIL, because I would not recommend, if they retain Mike Norvell, you should not give money to this. I would not give my hard-earned money to Mike Norvell, because I don't trust him with it. Do I assume Mike Norvell is going to be able to evaluate the right talent and allocate money wisely? No, I do not, because I've seen the results of that. So he's going to lose out on probably fans coming to the games, so that's revenue. NIL, that's revenue to it. And then if you don't win games in the ACC, that's part of our new contract with the ACC. If you don't win games, you don't get that split of that revenue either. So you're going to lose out on potential long-term gains by not firing him and taking the short-term loss. That I think they need to think about. I'm sure they're thinking about that, but you have a lot more to lose in the long term if you retain someone that's taking you down deep into the depths of the ACC, if not below that. And it's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, because to me, I agree. I think you and I agree that getting to 6 wins to get to some kind of bowl game is valuable for the program. You said money wise, it gives the kids a little bit of a boost, to go out and play. But what I'm saying is, it's also good for those practice weeks are good development weeks. And if you don't get to those bowl games, you don't get that practice time. But
I don't think that's material. The coach isn't going to be here, so I don't think the practice is even as big deal.
You think he's going to get fired? You think he's going to be?
I don't care about the practice. I care about the revenue from the bowl, because the practices are immaterial, because those coaches won't be here anymore. They'll be interim.
Do you think Norvell's going to be fired?
So this is how
this year
play out. I believe he'll be fired in the next couple of weeks. Gus Malzahn will take over, as
Interim.
he'll just interim.
Is interim.
And then they'll start search. The issue that's going to become is that you're not going to be able to hire a top candidate that we're all thinking, unless because a top candidate, say like a Lane Kiffin, you may say, he's competing for a playoff spot right now. He lost to Alabama, but they're still going to be top 10. So you're not going to be able to talk to him.
But there's backdoor discussions with the agents.
But he's not going to leave Ole Miss in the middle of the year.
No, he's not going to do it.
And
he's not going to
hurts.
do that.
So what you have to decide is, do we? I believe he'll get fired regardless, and you'll go and you'll get an interim. That's good. That's great. And I think that helps preserve any semblance of culture you have left to keep the program together. I think you have to cut out some piece of toxicity, or if people aren't believing in the leader, you got to get rid of the leader and replace him with somebody that they can have some. Look at UCLA. No one believed in their coach. They got rid of him, and now they've won 4 straight. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with Florida State, but you see a problem, you get rid of the problem, and things can change in the locker room quickly. And I think that's what's got to happen in the interim. And I think that's what's happening with UCLA. But with us, I think we'll do the same thing and start that search. And then they have to decide is, do we go big? Do we go for a top name, big name guy and put all our cards in and make the backdoor conversations with Jamie Sexton and stuff like that and wait till January or December for that call to come and yay or nay? Or do we go for like a James Franklin or someone who's available right now and has already been bought out and things like that? But that may be more of a lateral move. I think that may be sort of a lateral move, but he's available right now and could kickstart your recruiting efforts again and things of that nature. And that could start in November. So that's really the bigger call in my eyes. Mike Norvell will be gone, I believe, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree.
Replaced with who? Who will they go after? Is it the big bet, or is it more of the riskier kind of let's get somebody
analysis? Excellent analysis of the situation. It seems like there's a trend now in college ball to get rid of the coaches, like you said, when they're toxic. They're not your future leader. To get rid of them more quickly, stop the bleeding. If you need an interim coach, then that's what you do with somebody on the staff, and you start your process. Why wait to the end of the season to start the process when if you know that this guy is not your future leader, he's not the one to take you to where you want to go. It's better to get him out now and start the evaluation process as soon as possible, like you said. I agree with that. I think that's the direction. And whether they beat Wake Forest, whether they beat anyone else on this schedule, it's immaterial. I felt that way last week. I think you agreed with that. He was not the future leader of this ball team. And so I think, and then you're setting a new message to the players that everybody is going to be held accountable. That's how the program works. And the money will come up somewhere, okay? But this guy has to go. The Mike Norvell experiment is over at Florida State. He will go down as one of the most, I'm going to say he has to go down as one of the worst coaches, because it'll be Willie Taggart, Mike Norvell. I mean, in the history of Florida State football, there's not that many coaches, okay? But Mike Norvell experiment is definitely over, and I support what you're saying. It needs to end before the end of this season. And Mike Alford now is on the clock. Mike Alford is on the clock on what he's going to do, because he's caught up in this as well. And is he the guy who's going to hire the next coach? It's a mess. And the Stanford loss contributed to that mess. When this football team beat you at their house, when you had such a big gap in what spread in the points and everything, and you show up flat, and the defense gives a great effort. You have multiple penalties at the wrong time.
Yeah, it was undisciplined. It was just the way they played. It totally undisciplined, unacceptable. I mean, you had over 100 yards of penalties last night, or 13 penalties for 95 yards. I'm sorry, like undisciplined, just uninspired. It was just so not fun to watch that game. It was so uninspiring. Like, give me a break, guys. Like, the lack of, like, it was, like I said, they look uninspired. I'm uninspired, and that comes from the top. It just, they're not bought into the speeches from Mike Norvell anymore. And like you said, I said, I think it's better to get rid of that early before that seeps into every player, and then nobody wants to be part of the future of this program anymore, regardless of who the head coach is. You get rid of that person quickly, and I know the money's a lot, and someone spread around that with. You get rid of the one person now because you'll eventually have to. You can figure out the other money for the other staff members later, but at least you can kind of figure out where that money's going to come from. But it's probably going to be, someone said online, Jason Staples, someone, $75 million for everybody to be bought out. But get rid of that, the head now. Hope you can preserve some semblance of a culture or bring it back and fight for the last couple of games.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but is this true? Is this news? Napier got fired today?
Yeah. So I heard that sources are saying that he is fired. I don't think it's been made official by the university, but sources were telling big media that yes, he was going to be fired. I don't think it was made official.
Well, that's a domino. Now there's a domino effect, and with that, if that's true, and I suspect it might, but he just won a game on Saturday. So if he wins a game, they've already decided, obviously, he's not the future lead.
Huh? It was made before the game. Yeah, that tells you that decision was made before the game.
Made before the game. Okay. Yeah. This is not good news for Mike Norvell, because these coaches are getting fired quicker and quicker by midseason now, and that is because of recruiting. That's because of portal issues. There it is, right there. Fires. There he is. Okay, so Mike Norvell, I believe, like you said, could be fired as early as this week.
Could be Monday.
It could be
the late weekend, the travel back. It could be Monday. They could be having the conversation right now.
It could be Monday. They may slip it a week. You know, it doesn't matter what happens in the Wake Forest game except player development and trying to win a game to get to a bowl game. But Mike Norvell probably is not going to last out the next couple of weeks. That's what I think. I think you think it may be a little bit sooner, but he's gone. This firing here sends another signal. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I think it really, and you see the articles already, why Florida needs to go all in its pursuit leg hip. I think it matters who they have in mind too. I think Mike needs to be gone, but who are they going after? Because if Florida's making a signal now, like you said, we're done, we're moving forward. They got their feelers out already now of talking to, like you said.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And so Florida State needs to make that clear too to the market. We're here to play. We're willing to buy out $57 million plus,
right,
to build back our program.
Right.
And they need to show that same signal, because there's other programs that are also, there's other big Penn
There's
State.
There's a lot of programs.
Tech, but if Florida State comes on the market, that will be up there with Florida, in my opinion, above Penn State. But you also have UCLA. I think it'd be Florida State as the top two available programs. And then if Auburn fires their coach, that would be huge.
It's crazy.
So you need to put that signal to the market that we are looking, we're available. Let's talk. Especially if you're going for a big name target.
KB, I don't think there's any doubt the talking is already taking place. There's absolutely no doubt that the talking is already underway at many levels, and Florida State has sent a signal. The signal is sent we know they're not going to retain him. There's no way he can be retained. It would make no sense. They can't use the money as the excuse. It's a big deal, the money, I get it, but they've already sent the signals, and the hiring of the next coach at Florida State, I believe, is underway, and Mike Norvell will not last the next 2 weeks. He will be gone. All right. The boxes are being put to his office, and he'll bring, and he's going to start putting his stuff away. He knows this. But, he'll leave with a big bag of money still, and he'll do what everybody else does, go off to another job. And we will rebuild this program again under a new regime.
Yeah, absolutely. and then we start the whole conversation. Who's the right coach, and who's the right person, stuff like that. And I think there'll be a lot of big arguments about this, but and we could and we'll have a lot of arguments about that in the coming weeks. But we still have
And this is a good point by Eric here. There will be many firings to come, and that's true. There's going to be more coaches let go, and so you want to get ahead of that snowball going downhill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I said, like I was reported, it's probably going to be around 75+ million to buy out the entire staff. 50 of that being Mike Norvell's.
Well, then you got to hire a new staff, and that's another 75 million, right?
You could save some, because sometimes coaches come in, they choose to retain certain people. Like you could maybe see if Surtain decides, he doesn't want to head coach somewhere or whatever, and the new coach. That's where once you fire a head coach, there needs to be proper communication about this is who we're looking. Like they may involve certain coaches on who they're looking at, and if they may want to retain. So there could be retainment. I think there's certain position coaches that may be retained. I think a lot of them are going to go. But I could see someone like Surtain, who's recruited very well. Development, we could start but year two. But someone like that may be retained. He may go somewhere else too. But like you said, most of them will probably be gone. Absolutely. There could be a couple retentions which could save you on that money. But yeah, most of them will be gone. Like you said, at the end of the year, once whoever gets established or whoever comes in with the play of the games, because we can't forget 2 weeks from now, we'll have a new game to play and there'll be distractions around this. With the youth movement, I keep saying this. You have to give guys like Chroma the ball. Sawchuk got 20 touches in this game. They did the opposite of what I've been praying for. They gave Sawchuk more touches in this football game than they gave Chroma. Chroma got, 4 carries all night to Sawchuk's 20? This is not... Chroma's one of the best freshmen that Norvell's ever recruited.
And you could lose a guy like him. And you could lose a guy like him.
And you know why you could lose him? Because there may be stuff, like he may not be able to get, one, he's not getting taped to show off himself. So that's going to hurt him. And when he goes to pursue NIL offers, so he may go somewhere to say, hey, where can I play where I can show off my skills and get more NIL? They're playing themselves into a very bad situation with some of these young players, especially the good young players. And that's one of them. There's no reason that kid should be getting less than 10 carries per game. And then the game where you needed running, an outside running, a guy who could jump cut, you gave him 3 carries, 4 carries. Like this is the stuff that is frustrating me about this team, and that's coming from Gus. So that's on Gus. He's the play caller. When you're just running Sawchuk in the middle of the defense, the teeth of the defense all night, but you won't get your star player, who has probably the most athletic ability of all the running backs, the ability to jump cut and go outside against his defense. I don't understand it, and this is why a kid will probably leave. But if we see change, and maybe maybe Norvell's like, hey Gus, this is my roster order, this is who I want you to start, and you decide how you want to play it within your offensive scheme. Maybe that is some of the dynamics going on behind the scenes, because that's what will be interesting to see if Mike Norvell gets let go and Gus is interim. What does change? What roster switch ups do we see? What quarterback changes do we see? What running back, receiver? What changes about, especially the offense? But is Mike Norvell dictating things? Because we know he was very hands-on with the offense last year. For a kid like this to only get 3 carries, you're risking him walking. And he, whatever. So I know but things like that just don't make a lot of sense to me. Don't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, I think in the coming week, this week, there's going to be a lot of chatter about who the next coaches could be on the short list to be hired by Florida State. Will it be somebody controversial like a John Gruden? Who's eager to get back into football? It's not going to be Jimbo Fisher. And despite everybody's hatred of Jimbo Fisher had a great record overall, but he's not coming back to Tallahassee. That's not going to happen. But I do believe he'll end up somewhere else in college football. Could it be like you say, the ex-Penn State coach? Could it be Lane Kiffin? You know what? This is where the agents and the athletic departments really start to juice it up, and the agents are very good at leveraging. And the question is how much does Florida State have to throw onto the table, because all these other programs are going to do it. And this is what we talked about cash flow and the Florida State having to get out of the ACC, which that costs money. That's not going to happen for a while. But when we're talking what kind of money can be thrown out, and it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be dirty. It's going to be mucky. It's going to be a lot of controversy, and there's going to be a lot to cover.
And I think Alford knows he can't afford to F this up. I mean, because let's face it, Florida State football is the heart of this athletic department. And they can say, well, soccer and
no, that's what they bring.
Soccer. But this is the heart. And this extension is on him. He gave the extension, and now he's paying for it. Right or wrong. If he messes up again, that could be his job. If he messes up this next hire, which, the buyout may be around the same thing, because if you go after a big time, it depends. Once again, depends what route they go. Are they going to take the riskier, cheaper route and go for the Alex Golesh, or like a coordinator at the guy at Ohio State, the receivers coach at Ohio State? Are they going to go for a coordinator type? Or are they going to try to make a big splash and go for, like I said,
well, that's
Lane or Jane, something like that. But if you go for a big guy, big buyout again, and then you're putting all your chips in.
Well, I think I think if you go for a big name, then you're going to have to put out big money with big buyouts. If you go for someone who is not tested as a head coach, who has this potential, the promise, which Mike Norvell was one of those guys. His overall record coming to Florida State, his resume was not what I thought was a big name, solid type selection. So with that type of selection, again, you could put more of a basic plan, payment plan together with high incentives.
Oh, you mean for like a mid-major type?
Yeah, for somebody who's trying to make a name.
The guy from Tulane or the guy at USF.
Exactly. It would be more of a contract of a basic salary with incentives. Okay, and those incentives could be a long list of incentives that would really bring his package up. That type of situation. Either way, it's going to be lots of money. There's going to be lots of tension. But I think the sooner we get started on the rebuild from the head coach down, the better for this program.
And the thing you'll probably start seeing too, I guarantee you, Lane Kiffin or Ole Miss athletic department, they are trying to get him to sign a contract just like the Indiana coach just did. Sign that extension that increases your buyout, essentially. Like, I think right now, I guarantee you, they're trying.
Oh, you know that. And his agent.
He got it.
I think Kiffin's agent is Sexton. I think that's his agent. I could be wrong there, but I think Lane Kiffin wants to move on to another program. I really do. I think he might take the same money that Mississippi might offer, or he wants more. I think he likes the challenge of taking a program in the dumpster and making it better. And I think he's ready to do that. I'm not sure he thinks he can win a national championship at Mississippi. And all these types of head name coaches want to win the national championship and multiple conference championships. I don't think he believes he can do that at Mississippi.
And Florida's we saw. I believe Florida is going to throw everything at him. So
I do too.
I think that's a home run hire for him, and they saw what he's done at Ole Miss and how he plays the portal very well, and he recruits at a high level, especially at Ole Miss of all places.
Right.
But if they hire him, this becomes sort of like a nuclear arms race. Like, look at the missile we've just constructed and we're building, and who our head of state is now. We have to match that. That's what I feel. If they land Lane Kiffin, and then Florida State goes with an offensive coordinator at somewhat, I think, or a non-Power 4 coach with a high upside, but hasn't really proven it at the Power 4 level. I think that's a bad look. So I feel like whoever hires first is going to set the tone of what the other does in the state. That is my opinion, because
And
it is who matching what they're building, matching who hires who to say, okay, we see what our competition has now. We have to find someone that can match that or exceed that in evaluation, recruiting, booster, fundraise, all that stuff. And if they hire Lane, we're gonna have to find someone. I don't know who that is, because like I said, there's not a ton of people that I think are going to be available at that level in terms of, because his buyout I think is not that high at Ole Miss, like 3 or 4 million in this contract. It's
what?
very low.
Really?
I believe so. Yeah. So,
Wow.
that's what I'm saying. If they hire him, I don't know if anyone who's readily available or looking to leave.
What do you
is gonna
think
match
of a Tony Elliott from UVA? I think he's not going to be at UVA. He's going to enter the free agent market as a head coach, and he's going to go for a bigger job. He won't be at UVA. That's another one. And he'll leave. He'll get leverage. He's a possibility.
But that's one of those guys where it's 1 year. And are we gonna?
I know.
Are we gonna build the future
I
around
know.
a guy with 1 year?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he was
I know.
5-7 last year, and and
Yeah.
3-9. I mean, he's built a program up at UVA, and that's great, and they were doing great this year. But that's one of those things. That's a guy you could get cheaper, I would believe. But it's a high risk, high reward thing, and
Yeah.
is Alford willing to do that, or is that all he's available to do? That's where it's going to be interesting to see how much money does he have to play with Alford. Who are they
I'm
calling?
concerned.
Who are the boosters they're calling? Are they able to get the woman from Spanx, who's the FSU alumni, who's almost a billionaire, and say, hey, can you help us out here? Like, we'll put the Spanx logo wherever the hell you want it, on our jerseys, everything. We just need
That's
it's
right.
like $100 million right now.
That's right.
And we'll put that logo. We'll put our
No,
players in Spanx,
you're exactly right. You're exactly right. We might want to have to think creative now. Like you say, we're going to put logos on jersey. I already heard that talked about by one of the universities that's planning to do that. I don't think there's anything illegal about that. And if the NCAA said you can't do it, I'd challenge it in court. I'd have it challenged.
UNC went to Saudi Arabia to look for funds.
Yeah.
Hell, send Alford to Saudi Arabia, to the public fund, to try to get. I don't care where you get the money as long as it's legal.
Right.
At this point, we got to hire the best guy to build us back. No more experiments.
And I do believe, KB, this is going to slow down the effort by Florida State to leave the ACC, because it's going to leave less money for them to leave the ACC. And I hope it doesn't derail an opportunity, because as new TV contracts start to rail up, maybe there's TV out there saying, we'll help you guys out because we want you in a certain conference. Who the hell knows? But it's going to be an interesting ride. But right now, I think Norvell will be out of here in the next 2 weeks. You think maybe a little bit earlier. The short list of coaches, the discussions are underway. There's no doubt about that. And it's a tough situation. It's a very tough situation right now in Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah, it's not a fun time, and it's not a fun team to watch. I'm just being honest with you. It's depressing to watch uninspired football. And I feel for the guys that are still trying on this football team, because like I said, I don't think everyone on this team has quit. And I hate to say the team has quit, because I know every player hasn't quit. I saw some of the guys, the few players that were still getting in there, all like Tommy was, and left it all out there on a cheap shot. But yeah, it is hard to watch, because every one of these games has been winnable. And just you're not getting execution. You're undisciplined.
The last thing before we wrap this up, KB, and I know you and I have had discussion about this. I believe it's also the caliber of players. It's probably a mixture of coaching, development, and quality of players. Are they is a Blake Nicholson, who had a decent game on defense in front of his family and friends from California? He's from there. Is he playing at his capacity? And it's not at a capacity he's going to get into the NFL or an All-American status. Is he playing at full capacity at this point? And I'm saying that about all players. Maybe these guys just aren't. When other teams have 4 and 5, I know we've had this discussion. I know what you're going to say, but maybe these guys just aren't good enough to play any better than where they're at. But with better coaching, better leadership, we could be winning these close games. And for the Florida State standard, which Michael Alford has always said, it's to win ACC championships, to win national championships. We are nowhere close to that at this point.
Yeah.
And that's my closing statement.
Yeah, this isn't a talent thing. Obviously, Mike Norvell hasn't recruited to the level I think Florida State should be recruiting out. No top 10 classes, very few 5 stars. I think 0 5 stars, 1's 5-star in his tenure.
Nobody's going to the FFL.
But the guy, this team we just lost to, their last 4 classes were number 20, number 45, number 45, and number 57. The last 3 were bottom 10, number 8, number 13 ACC. This isn't talent. Every team on paper, we have the talent to beat every team. We have, play with or beat. We had the talent advantage on many of the teams we've lost to in the past 2 years, in the ACC especially. And you saw that against Alabama. You play up to your potential, or you exceed that in that moment.
Yeah,
it's
unfortunate.
What good coaches do, they get more in the moment out of their players.
It's unfortunate.
They put them in a position to excel and execute. And players will play above their level if they buy in, if they believe, and it went off the rails. And too often, these players and this staff, it did not come together. And some of it, like you said, is you don't have the elite players to overcome the stakes of the non-elite players. You don't have Derwin Jameses roaming the backfields, the defensive secondary. You don't have Dalvin Cooks to bail you out when you're down 14 points to make an explosive run. That is true. You don't have those All-American players, but you have had enough talent to win games over the past 2 years in the ACC. You've had it. But Mike Norvell and this staff has not gotten those players locked in, believing that they can do it and playing above their level every single week. And that's on him. That's on him as the CEO of this team.
Well, KB, it's going to be an interesting ride. You and I are going to take that train together, and we're going to stay on board, and we're going to report what we hear. We're going to make comment on what we see, and we're going to invite opinion from all our viewers. We really appreciate everybody in here tonight. We got a big crowd in here tonight. You guys, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do hit the subscribe button. You'll know when we're on the air. Hit the bell, thumbs up, and we appreciate it. We really do, because we're going to bring it to you raw and unfiltered and give you our thoughts. We love your thoughts. We try to get them up on the air as we do. And a lot of times we will have our call-in lines. We love you guys call in when we have those. So, please, take the train ride with us. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be messy at times.
Words, I believe he'll be gone by Monday. That is my belief.
Okay, I say in the next 2 weeks, but I think you may be probably closer to the date than I am. But the checkbooks are going to be out, and they've got to move on. When the house is burning down, you have to put out the fire before you can rebuild the house. Mike Norvell experiment is over. It is over. And he might be the nicest guy personally, but professionally here in this situation, it did not work out.
It did not work out. And it's time for us to move on. And by Florida pulling the trigger tonight, it accelerated our timeline. So stay tuned. Look at the Florida hot boards, because I believe their hot boards are going to be very similar to the Florida State hot boards in terms of coaches we're looking at, because they have to make a splash hire. They need to rebuild quickly, and so do we. So stay tuned for that. Look out for our next show. Hit the bell so you see our next show. We appreciate y'all coming out. Have a great rest of your evening.
We'll see you this week.
Stay tuned for our next show. Okay. Go Noles. Go Noles, guys.
Seminole sideline 365. Feel the roar, we're coming alive. Garnet and gold in the battle we thrive. This is our house where legends arrive. Every yard we take.